Hi class, this is just a quick video to give you more guidance about your final assignment. Remember, we aren't having a traditional final exam. We were originally scheduled to have a gallery walk, and it was going to be an amazing way to wrap up our semester, but instead we're going to be doing something online. So before going any further, have you read the instructions that I posted on Blackboard? And if you have not, please pause this video and read them before proceeding forward. So my preference is that you will log on to WebEx at the time that our exam is set to begin. And of course, I'm going to post the link to my WebEx room like I always do on the days of classes. And all you have to do is just briefly go through that list of elements that you see on your instructions. And so I want you to give us some detail to let us know a bit about you and how those elements apply to your teaching identity, but otherwise you can keep it pretty short. It was meant to be a quick presentation anyway, like gallery walk style. And so either me or your classmates may have some questions, but really, otherwise all you got to do is cover the areas that you see listed. You probably will want to write the information down in advance. That way you can go through it more fluidly. And it's not going to take you a long time to prepare, especially now since we no longer have the visual requirement. You're not putting together a poster or any other series of visual aids to support your presentation. This is really more or less a conversation than a presentation anymore. All right, so let me show you an example of how it may look.
Okay, so we'll start with my true colors, the learning styles. And so my true colors are blue, the more emotional, heartfelt, sensitive type, and orange, which also goes right along with being active, kinesthetic, creative. As a teacher and as a student, my strengths would be with working with any materials I've created myself, as opposed to something that's been scripted or already created that I'm supposed to pick up and teach. No, I actually do my best when I've made the material. Also, when I have an emotional connection to the content and when I'm passionate about the topic, I not only learn best when I have that emotional connection, but I also teach best when it's a topic that really drives me. So my areas of growth would be my organization and time management. My gold score was pretty low, if you remember, and so I can accept that these are not my best qualities, and the reality of it is part of a disability, and it's nothing that ever becomes quote unquote normal. But at the same time, I'm always seeking tips, tricks, hacks, anything that can help me improve. Things like the Pomodoro technique for time management, or even color coding, or having a specific place for everything, just to help me always make sure I can find my materials or at least present them in a way that also makes sense to students. My preferences and interests for teaching kind of goes along with my strengths, that aside from the emotional topics, so I prefer to teach students who are going to be teachers about things like building empathy, building that within them, but then also how they can build that with their students. Promoting a positive learning environment is another thing, and I like teaching on those topics. And then I do prefer that over procedural topics. I can't really say I enjoy IEP writing so much, but I do enjoy compelling you all to be person-centered in this process with your students. Also, I clearly like to make videos, even though they do take forever. My favorite instructional strategy is metacognition. I love to brainstorm aloud and make sense of different concepts. I'm also a fan of visuals. So I love graphic organizers and any aesthetically pleasing infographics when I teach. I often feel like I have to draw something or present something visually so I can explain it to other people. So metacognition, it helps me teach just as much as it helps me learn. And a way that I'll engage in self-care, I mean, given that that is my area, there's a number of things I do, but the favorite one to talk about would be going outdoors as much as possible. So doing anything I can outside. And I need to go outside at least once a day for a few minutes. And yes, that even includes right in the middle of the Michigan winter. And also to do one longer activity each week. Mostly that involves going on a hike or a run, but when there's enough snow on the ground, cross-country skiing is something I've come to enjoy. Tubing down the hill in the snow, that's a lot of fun, even if I crash sometimes, or when it's warm out, tubing down the river, or even swimming. And those are all things that help me stay balanced. One way that I promote a positive learning environment, there's actually so many different directions to go with this one, but you only need to state one. And so for me, I show my human side. I used to really worry about what people would think of me if they knew some of my mental health battles, but now I'm open about it, and it's actually like a weight has been lifted off of me. It's easier for me to be authentic and to also admit to when I'm having any struggles that might affect my teaching. And so, yes, that comes with a bit of a risk about people judging me, but what I have actually found is it's really helped, and that it helps students who have any sort of mental challenges themselves. It helps them to know that you're still an intelligent, capable, valuable person. That's just something that you work through for all its gifts and even all of the obstacles. And even without any sort of diagnosis, just the fact that we're all human, and I think students can be at ease about their human nature in my presence. And so what I hope is that it also makes things comfortable and creates a space in which my students can learn. Something that I think differently about as a result of this class, basically just that all the ways I learned as a kid were pretty much wrong. And I always felt that way. I found a lot of things with school to be boring AF, especially like popcorn reading, copying definitions, and just other stuff that's really more about busy work than meaningful experiences that could help me grow. It's something that I hope to learn more about as my teaching skills develop. And remember, my philosophy is this is a continuous journey, no matter how good one gets. So I consider it something that I'm still working on. And so something I'd like to know more about is how the various local districts approach special ed services, because there seems to be a lot of variation just within the state as to the use of co-teaching, or even what this looks like on an IEP, or even the way a school does resource. And then an issue I expect to face as a special educator, of course for me this is going to be past tense, and I'm going to tell you something I didn't expect was so much resistance to me doing my job. I did not expect to have to advocate so much just to get my students the help that they need. And so that was also during the No Child Left Behind era. And it may not be as big of an obstacle now as it was before. Okay, well, that's the example, and you can do something like that, of course, with your information. And It's pretty easy like that. It's not something that you can really get wrong as long as you're addressing the different prompts. And like I said, you may or may not get some questions, but because I want to make it possible for everyone to do this, if you choose that route, this is something that you can expect to go pretty quickly per person.
I do hope to see you during our exam, or our exam window, I should say. But if you cannot make it at that time, or really if you honestly don't want to and you'd rather do the discussion board option, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to leave that up to you. And you will see on the discussion board through our Blackboard shell basically the same thing, where you'll be able to copy and paste those elements, and then you'll paste that into your own thread, and then for each one you will just give a written response to everything. And then also, because of doing it that way, and if you do come to the live WebEx session, you will be like listening in on others, and taking in their presentations. And so to account for that, on the discussion board, you will need to post at least one response to one of your classmates, and a substantial response at that, not just, hey, yeah, that's great. That is your other option if you cannot or choose not to do the live WebEx. Well, you have choices. So no matter which one you decide to go with, I will see you then.